What's up, Mike? There's a person? Oh, who's here?
Hey guys,
Whoa.
you haven't.
No.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
Appreciate it. You're welcome. Yeah, sure.
Well, we got questions about a ton of stuff, but I really wanted to get Chris on because she is one of the few people, well, she's the only person that I'm familiar with that I could have reached out with or made contact with that has used, but has, as far as I know, still has both of the multi-line Braille displays that have recently come out. So that would be the Monarch from, let's see, I should have prepped because I forget who made the Monarch now. APH and the DotPad X. So I have some questions, or really just kind of want to hear Chris's thoughts on both displays, and then we'll probably get into some specifics. But Chris, how are you finding them, and like what is your general feeling today about multi-line Braille and kind of where we are with it being supported?
I'm really excited about it. I'm so glad that I get to chat about this because I use these in my work and then, my personal downtime too for fun stuff, fun content and puzzles and reading and all that sort of thing. But I think it's great. I mean, for so long we've been confined to one line. And when you start to think about spreadsheets or tactile graphics, they, especially obviously the spreadsheets, there's really no way you can get a really great understanding of the spreadsheet, even a few columns side by side, unless you have a page of Braille. So I'm very excited about that. As far as the support, JAWS is coming along. I'd like iOS to be able to support it in terminal mode, but I'm very excited that it's gained a lot of traction with JAWS and I think NVDA as well. And then there is a new format called eBraille, which allows you to have a book, say, that has graphics and text and be able to display that content in that electronic medium. So I think support will, by necessity, need to keep moving forward, but I think it's got a really good start. And I'm glad for all the opportunities and the ease that it will provide for us when we want to look at more complex content, not to mention things like split Braille, where you can have two apps on the same surface, so that you could sort of do the equivalent of a couple windows sitting beside each other as a sighted person. So yeah, I'm very, very encouraged, and it's, these things aren't cheap. Obviously, that's always kind of caveat, but they're available. And even the Monarch has, come down in price, and from the DotPad
Really?
X iterations, they've come down too. So I'm very excited.
Yeah, I really am looking forward to the ability to have the Braille display monitoring one window. So say I can look at some code or something and then I'm typing in another window and not have that confuse the computer or break anything.
Right. Oh no. Oh, that would be
I
so
mean,
confounding.
you
Oh
have the
no.
absolute ability to do that right now. So you are just not doing it because you don't
Oh.
want to. Um, so I want I want to step back for a second. I have a lot of questions coming off what you
Sure.
just said, but I want to step back
Hmm.
and for you, because I have seen, so I have a dot pad sitting on my desk.
Awesome.
But I saw the Monarch and I saw the Monarch several years ago. Like it was still kind of, I want to say like in the testing phase. And the person that I
Hmm.
saw that had one, like they could legitimately show it to people, but
Sure.
they didn't really want you to touch it. And you definitely couldn't get one. So describe for the listeners and for me, What is the layout of the Monarch, and then kind of describe the layout of the DotPad, and what have you found different?
Sure. So the Monarch is about the size of a gaming computer. So it's about, I think, like 10 or 11 by 15. It weighs about 5 pounds. So it's a hefty piece of kit and weightlifting, and, have a special bag for it and that sort of thing. But it provides for you 10 lines of 32 cells on its surface. And it has all the internal applications from, say, if you're used to the Keysoft, the humanware products.
Mm-hmm.
And so you've got, the Braille editor and the regular editive terminal mode and Victor Reader, and there's KeyMath, KeyMail. There's a web browser. There is now support for Google Drive, which has just come out in the 1.4 update, which I've just installed, so I need to still play with it. You can, in the KeyMath, you can show equations, you can graph them, you can print them out if you were in such a class, for your instructor. And, so you've got all these applications that are available to you as a standalone device. And then, of course, you can connect it to a computer for output with JAWS or NVDA. And then, so it has a Perkins style keyboard, and then there are keys to scroll up or down one page of text or one display full. And there's an action button that allows you to click on things, which is really cool. I feel like a sighted person clicking away. It's really awesome, the simple things in life. And there's also a zoom in and zoom out button. So when you're examining a graphic, you can focus on a certain part of it and you can zoom in or out. And then there are buttons on the front of the device which allow you to, go back. There's a menu button, and there's, some scrolling. So it's like a ginormous note taker that has such capability. So that, and then there's a USB-A port, and the power charging is the USB-C. And that is basically what it is like. The Braille, the pins are equidistant in that there's really, I think there's 8 pins per cell, and they're equidistant, so they can display graphics without any little tiny holes. A circle can really be round. And
okay.
so the Braille doesn't look like jumbo Braille. It's in between regular size Braille and jumbo Braille. It's not disconcerting really, but if you're very sensitive tactile reader, you could notice that. And there's also a membrane over the cells, which is really important to keep dust and dirt and skin oil and, that sort of thing out of the mix. And I guess they've only had two of the Monarchs returned for trouble with the cells out of the, I think probably now there's like 1,500 of them out there, which is just an unheard statistic, because usually Braille displays, you've got all those moving parts and pins jumping up and down, and your fingers are, it's just it's just an accident waiting to be happening eventually that you're going to have to get something replaced. So the track record is really wonderful with this device in terms of the cells, and they are actually made they're version made by the folks at DotPad. So the DotPad, on the other hand, will give me 20 cells of 8 lines, and it is a smaller device, obviously, so it's about the size of an iPad. And some people say, oh, it's a content consumption device. It does not have internal applications on its own, so it needs to be connected to a computer or a smartphone. And the wonderful thing that it does and it specializes in is the tactile graphics. The first time I felt all the iPhone icons on my home screen, I was blown away.
Yeah, that is really cool. I remember I did that when well, actually, yeah, when I first saw one in, where was I? New Orleans, maybe? Yeah, New Orleans, the National Convention. I was like,
Hmm.
that is really cool.
It is. It's really great. And then I'll tell you about a purpose I use it in teaching in a little bit, but I do create graphics with ChatGPT, so I'll tell you about that more later. But it's just a great device, and of course, you can read Kindle books. You can read, any of your content and text on the screen. So it has no input. So there's no Perkins style keyboard and no cursor routing buttons. And so I connect an Orbit Writer that is a little Braille input keyboard to my phone or my iPad, whichever device that I'm working with. And then I have Braille keyboard entry. I've also connected a regular QWERTY keyboard to it, a Bluetooth keyboard. So it really depends on your use case, because what you've got is this fantastic display that can show you graphics in Braille. And then there are keys at the bottom of it that will allow you to go to your home screen, scroll previous and next lines and so forth. And then also underneath that main display is a 20 cell display, regular sized Braille. The spacing is just like it to be, and it will give you information on the status of what you're reading. So maybe the graphic that you're examining, or the first couple words of the page you're reading in your Kindle book, it gives you some status information. And then on the one side, there's a power charging port that has the letter P in Braille thoughtfully placed on the top of the unit. And then on the other side, there's a D for data. So you don't get confused about which port you're actually using and expecting a different result when it doesn't work out and you thought it was data and it's power. So I thoroughly enjoy both of these devices, and I'm ever so privileged. I got the Monarch through the RISE project. It was a grant, and then I personally bought the DotPad X. So I'm just thrilled that and feel very humbled and privileged that I have these devices.
So it really blew my mind when I got shown the Kindle book on the DotPad, because I was like, man, that is so cool. And I have been reading a ton of Kindle books on the DotPad just for that reason, because it is so nice to have multiple lines of Braille to read through a book. It is amazing. I think you're one of the best people positioned to have both of these because of what your job is. And I say that from a perspective of, like, if I were sitting here with both of these things, like, it'd probably be one of them would be sitting on the table behind me, and I probably wouldn't have touched it in 2 or 3 weeks. And there would be this one over here, which I occasionally turn on to do this with. So, yes, it is a privilege, but I also think that you are a deserving person to use these, because your use case, you're going to not only really take the time to figure out what's good for what and how they work and all of that, but more so, where they fit in people's lives. And I'm curious kind of what you think about that now. Like, when would you suggest a Monarch versus a DotPad? Like, what type of situations would you make a different decision for?
Right. So the Monarch obviously has the most applications. So for someone in college who's studying a STEM subject, math, science, tech, whatever the other engineering. I hope I got them. So if they're studying a more technical subject, is absolutely crucial. I wish I would have had this when I was doing graphing equations years and years ago. It would have been great. And then, of course, just all the applications that it offers. And if you're reading a lot of spreadsheets, that's really great, because how many times you just wonder how all that data relates to itself. Definitely, if someone is wanting to work with a lot of tactile graphics, obviously you have a bigger surface to display them on with the Monarch. And the tactile graphics library with the Monarch is absolutely astounding. I think there's many thousands of graphics that you can just download. You can display them on the device, and then you can actually save them, which I think is amazing. And so really, somebody that is comfortable with, if Perkins keyboard entry is the way to interact with it initially, but also, if someone's an instructor and they can, I believe, plug in a monitor and, see the Braille, real time TVIs, I think it's such a full-fledged competent device that there's so many people that could benefit from it, and so many professionals and or students. And it also just, whatever you're doing with it, it's a new piece of tech. People are wowed by it, and that already kind of makes it inviting.
Yeah.
And for the DotPad, for someone who wants something more portable, they want to, it's been said that it's a content consumption device, but as I know, I use it in my work, and I do create, tactile graphics with it and love using it for that. You just have a smaller space, and you do have to connect something to it to get it to work. But if somebody wants to use it in a more professional capacity with a lot more apps and capabilities, they would choose a Monarch. But if they don't have that many thousands of dollars, and that's not possible, the DotPad is going to get the job done. It's just a smaller space, and you have to connect to a computer or a smartphone for sure.
Okay. So, and my kind of takeaway from that is the Monarch is basically a full-fledged Braille note taker, just with a much larger surface for Braille reading. And if you're looking to have all of that stuff, a lot of that stuff kind of built in with the flexibility to connect to devices, that works for you. But if you're price sensitive, or the DotPad still can serve in a lot of those instances. You just to me, what it sounds like you're kind of saying, at least my takeaway, and it's kind of been my takeaway from the beginning, but you've kind of affirmed that for me, is like the DotPad is great if you, if you're paying for it out of your own pocket and you don't have the several thousands of dollars to get the Monarch. But other than having to connect it to a device, like, you still have that multi-line Braille. As a support, it gets, more integrated across the operating systems. You're going to have the flexibility to do a lot of what you can do with the Monarch. It's going to take you at minimum 2 devices to make that work, as opposed to just one.
Yes. Yeah. And the other thing that makes the DotPad nice too, though, is that graphics are rendered in real time in a couple of different ways. So with the Monarch, I would find a graphic, put it on a thumb drive, upload it, things, and that would take several minutes, right, to do that whole process. But I'm connected to my phone, I can go to ChatGPT and say, draw me a line drawing of X. And it will do that, and 20 seconds later, I'm feeling what I asked it to do. And there was no uploading, downloading, converting something. What format are we in? I don't know. It's just instantaneous, and I love it. That is, I'm excited about an example from this week.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. So I find that several learners that I teach, so there's a few things that challenge people. Maybe there's a language barrier. There might be some spatial issues for someone, or they may never have had visual experience with a particular concept with their computer, let's say. So I was teaching someone about hierarchical folder structure. So I thought, how can I get this point across, that we have the PC, and then we have the documents folder, and then we have a subfolder within that, and maybe a subfolder within that. So I thought, how can I explain this? This is not this person's knowledge base, and in this case, there was a slight language barrier. So I'm thinking, how can I explain this? So I connected DotPad to the phone, and I fired up ChatGPT, and I said, make me a line drawing of a box within a box. And within 20 seconds later, it had this ridiculous diagonal cube on the screen that did not resemble anything I asked for. And I'm thinking, what are you thinking? So I rephrased the prompt, and why this made more sense to it, I don't know. But I said, make me a line drawing of a small square with another square around it. And voila, it was so happy with that. So then I got a bonus box because there was a frame around the whole thing, a 3-sided frame. And then there were one box inside of the other box. And just to back up, earlier that day, I had ordered on Amazon a set of nested boxes. It was kind of a gag gift, like when you get a gift for Christmas, there's a box within a box within a box within a box. And then you got this tiny little box, and there's a little tiny gift inside the last box. So it came in the mail for me, and I got that when I got home. And you have to fold the boxes and put them inside each other and all that sort of thing. But that's what I was trying to simulate because I didn't have that yet. So I had this great, and I was so excited. I went all around the building showing everybody this awesome, which made me so happy, box within a box within a box. So then what I did when the student came for their lesson, I said, so we have the PC is a giant container. It's like this box. And so I traced their hand over it. And I said, then we've got the documents folder. And so here it is. It's this bigger box here, but it's inside the computer. And then I said, so then you have your subfolder here. And we named the subfolder, and it was within that. And they immediately understood what I was talking about. And then I put their finger in the middle of the box, and I said, this is where your document is. And then the next day, I said, so I've got something for you I'm going to bring. So the next day I brought the actual physical representation of the boxes and showed them that. And they will never forget the folder structure of a computer. So that's my fun example with one of the many from ChatGPT.
That is fascinating. What's really interesting to me is that, like, as you started this story with the describing the folder structure and subfolders, my mind instantly went to a box in a box.
That's great.
So that is really cool. So, generally just, I don't know, Mike, you got any specific questions? Because I feel like and you've not seen any of these, have you, Mike? $10 seconds. Yep, because that's about all they'll let you touch it.
Yeah. Yep. It really is. And what I found too, the way it's also handy is if you're teaching someone who, or even just chatting with someone who needs to know how to use their phone better, and maybe they don't have any experience with it, they're new to smartphones somehow, but those buttons, like the send button in the email, it's an upward arrow, I think it is. It doesn't have the word send on it. So you couldn't say to a sighted person, hey, hit the send button. And you could say it's in the upper right corner, but they're going to say, well, I don't see anything that has send on it. It's just this arrow thing up here. So if you don't know what things look like, which I didn't, and which things are purely graphics and not labeled with a word, then you don't know what you're looking for. So in teaching people who are transitioning from using their vision to spoken output, I can say it's going to look like this. And they go, oh, okay. So.
Yeah, that's where my mind went when I first used the DotPad. Is I was like, I wish that I would have had this years ago when I was teaching, especially Mac OS and iOS, because so much of it is visual, and we get the text label of the thing,
Yep.
So I vividly remember, and Mike's probably heard this story before. I vividly remember when I worked with John Panarese for a little while, and he was doing the Apple Certified Support Professional. He was doing a training course for people who wanted to take that class. And he discussed the whole fact of, like, when you take this test, it's not geared for you as a blind person. So it's going to ask you visual questions, and these are things you need to know. Mm-hmm. And he did a whole hour and a half session on what everything visually looks like on Mac OS on the dock because he's like, we call it Launchpad, but there's a rocket ship, right? So you may have a question that says, what does the rocket ship do? And he was just like, so the first time I took this test, I had no idea what a rocket ship. There was a rocket ship? What do you mean? And I sat there when I first got my DotPad and just looked at all the icons on the phone and was like, oh, I didn't know that app looked like that, or I didn't know this button looked like that.
Yeah.
And it takes me back famously to learning that the settings icon in Gmail was a gear, right? It was around the time when everybody started turning their settings icons into gears. And I knew settings. And I'm trying to talk to a person on the phone and tell them where to click on. And I'm like, you want to click on settings? I don't see settings. It's kind of in this area, like right below here. Like, do you see your name? Okay, it's going to be a little, I see a gear.
Yep.
It's like, okay, well, click the gear. Let's see what that does. I mean, I don't know how a gear actually relates to settings necessarily, but okay, let's click that thing and see what happens. All right, that's the settings. And from then on, I've known that anytime somebody's like, how do I get to settings? Look for the gear.
Yep.
And you're right. It is very handy for us to learn things that we didn't see visually or never have been able to see visually, or as things, come out new that we haven't seen. I did hear you tell a story on Double Tap about some different graphics that you had just generated with ChatGPT. You seem to be a very heavy ChatGPT user.
I am. I use it judiciously, and I always check up on it. So, but it's creating things for me. It looks up processes and steps, and I tell it it's wrong, and it says, apologizes.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I'm wrong. I don't know.
It's like, why didn't you figure that out in the first place? Right. But I do use it, and I love to, it's created logos for me. It created some graphics for a presentation I did last summer at the Mac users, the Mac users group conference. And it's created, obviously things for my students and I to use. And so I like doing that with it. It doesn't know it's Braille very well, I've discovered, so we have to check up on it with the Braille. So it needs some instruction. No, I haven't. No. Oh, yeah. That's a really good question. I've either been devoted to one platform and just wondered, do I have the bandwidth to learn something else? And really, what else would it do for me? So, I don't know. I have to check it out. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, give it a try. I mean, you don't even have to log in, I think, with Claude. You can just go to claude.ai and just kind of type in the box for a bit before they prompt you to log in. I notice GPT is now doing that too, where it's like, oh, you get to use it for a little while before we even know anything about you.
Oh, good. That's good to know.
Tell us about MacStock, because I actually, now that you mentioned that, I have forgotten that, but I remember wanting to talk to you then, and the summer just got really crazy for me and Mike. Well, I wanted to talk to you then about that experience in doing a presentation in MacStock. So for listeners, and Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, or if I miss out on anything, but from what I remember, MacStock is a conference that happens, or really it's kind of more of a meetup, I think would be a better way to describe it, but it's a thing that happens up in Illinois around early summer-ish time. And I think it started because somebody invited a bunch of people to a backyard barbecue because there's no longer a Mac world for people who love the Mac to go to anymore. So it's kind of how that got started. It's just turned into a annual, thing that happens.
Yep. That's right. That's a good description. There are about, I think, 200 people that show up, and it's so friendly. They tell you, you're just going to walk in and you're going to have 200 of your best friends for the 4 days that you're there. And it's true. Everybody is super friendly. You already know you have something in common. And so, you have something to talk about. And if you don't want to talk to people that much, they'll leave you alone, but they're so friendly. It was great. I submitted a speaking proposal, which I'm going to do again here pretty soon, but to discuss the topic was like connecting accessibly. And so the topic involved remote incident manager and then the document remediation app that they have. And so I talked about those, and somebody ran my PowerPoint for me. And the thing that made the biggest splash was that Allison Sheridan of Nosilicast, she and I worked together to create a video that captured me helping her to do something. Now, I can't imagine that I actually taught her something, but I did show her something she could do. But I was basically, she was pretending to be the person who needed help, and I was the helper. So we captured that output. So both of our computers connected via remote incident manager, and then we had the audio and video from that. Now, since then, maybe we sparked the need for this. There is now that ability to do that with remote incident manager. You can record your session, which is fantastic. That would have saved us so many hours of trial and tribulation.
I can only imagine.
Yep. So that was what the talk was about. And that's what made the biggest splash, is that people actually saw, oh, wow, here's VoiceOver speaking the headings on a web page. That's why I need to do that. That's why I need to make buttons accessible and have the coding properly, formatted for the headings and everything. And when they could hear me navigating a website and showing Allison something, they heard VoiceOver speaking. And I heard at least 2 people say to me, I will never complain again about making my website accessible. And I just about cried, I was like, wow, what a home run, because people have to see what we hear and have to hear what we hear to really understand, wow, if I didn't have that information, I would be completely lost. So everybody really enjoyed the presentation. And I knew if I didn't bring accessibility to the table, it really wouldn't be there. Not through anyone's fault. It's just that no one else specializes in that, really. And
Right.
So I'm excited to bring accessibility again. And I have a topic that's rustling around that I better hustle. And because I was the first one to get my proposal in last year, and I'm super excited about applying again.
Excellent. Do we get a sneak peek of what the topic might be?
Yeah. So the topic for the conference is inspiration. And so I would like to put together a presentation inspiring people to read more. And so there are a lot of apps, and they don't preclude iOS. It's mostly Mac stuff, but they do talk about things on your phone too. But I want to talk about the various apps that read to you, even knowing that Safari Reader is available for people. Just remember that, it makes things a lot easier and less cluttered. So I want to bring people apps that don't depend on VoiceOver, really, because I'm not talking to a blind or visually impaired audience, but apps that make it easier for people to read, settings that make it easier for people to read. So that's my idea at the present.
Good idea, because there are many apps out there. 11 Labs is one of the first ones that jumps to mind for me, only because Michael has been telling me I should use it, and I still haven't even used it. I downloaded it.
Oh, yeah.
Part of the way there.
I've had fun with it, with creating promos, writing them with ChatGPT, and then speaking them with a cool voice from 11 Labs. Yep.
So, sticking to AI for a second, because I'm always interested, and me and Michael talk about it a lot on the show, just in general, because we're both using it for different things. But you're out in a I'm not gonna say completely different space, but from a professional standpoint, like how are you feeling about AI? Like, are you afraid it's going to take your job at some point? Do you think it's a little overhyped? Like, just kind of give people your general thoughts and, where you have found it to be useful and not useful for you, just kind of on a daily basis. Cause it sounds like you're using it not just for, coding, which is what me and Michael are mostly talking about these
don't
past
code.
few days. But you're using it to do things that are kind of like everyday work tasks. I think a lot more people may be able to relate to, as opposed to like, hey, I wrote this cool little app that does a thing for me. And they're like, whatever, man.
Right. So I think back to the beginning of the internet, and I remember going on the internet for the first time in
Kids, ask your parents.
Yeah, ask your parents or me. So 2000, in the year 2000, and there wasn't that much out there, and you did have to figure out if you found a reliable source, and it should be that people fact check and check up on these AI things just as they would any other source. It's not a replacement for your sensibility,
Mm-hmm.
And so it kind of reminds me of that. So I always check up on it. No, it's not going to take my job because there, in my mind, is no replacement for in-person teaching where someone cannot learn from a bot. Everybody's different learning styles. Thank heavens they have them, because then we'd all be robots. But, somebody needs boxes, physical cardboard boxes to understand folder structure. They're not going to be able to get that with Chat GPT. Might tell you this is a box within a box, but honestly, if someone doesn't. So another example, like an email chain that I described to somebody, I got a bunch of form feed paper and I just let it fall to the floor. And I said, okay, your message is up here on this page. Then the person who emailed you is below here, below here, below here. So finally we're almost on the floor. Like this is the first, message that happened in the conversation. And so the chatbot is not going to take away my hands-on approach to, objects and object lessons for my teaching. So I'm not worried about that at all. I am excited about the tasks that it helps me do that I cannot do. For instance, draw those graphics. I do have to check up on its directions step by step, and I do try them out and I do tell it it's wrong. But I think for directions, step by step things, examples of things, I think the factual things, if you can parse those out, are probably the most reliable things. Or like I say, the drawing, I really, appreciate that. So those are the things I use it for, and no, I'm not going to be replaced. But I'm older and, not going to live forever. So, but what I would say is the in-person approach is so important. So, I mean, I can understand why coders are kind of nervous, but I'm not.
See, I kind of feel like, so you heard it here first, folks. Chris says that AI cannot replace you at your job. So everybody calm down, relax.
Yep.
Well, I mean, I feel like in a lot of cases, though, what Chris just said applies, I think, even to developers. Now, you may have fewer developer jobs at some companies, but I mean, software development comes down to a lot of times the actual deciding of what are you building, how is it going to function, what is it going to do. Like, you still have to think about the person or the people using it at the end of the day.
That's right.
AI can help speed up the process of getting the actual code written, putting the letters into the document and making the thing function. But it's not gonna, I don't think we're anywhere near a point where it's going to put together an application and, boom, every time it's going to get it right. And the users on the other end of it are going to be happy, and you're not going to have any bug reports, any feedbacks, anybody yelling at you that says, I clicked this thing and this thing didn't happen. Because as I'm pretty sure in different aspects, we all know you can make a thing with this thought in mind or this use case in mind. And then at the end of the day, somebody comes along and tries something that you didn't think of. And they're like, hey, this doesn't work when I do this. And, sometimes my question is, why would you even, what made you even think to try to do that?
Mm-hmm.
But you're right. So let me try to fix that so it works in the situation or circumstances you attempted to use it in. So, like I said, Chris said it, everybody, you're not going to lose your job to AI, at least not anytime soon.
Right.
So Everybody just chill out. Learn to use the tools, I think, is what I would take away from what Chris really just said. Like, learn to use them and where they can be helpful in your day to day versus being like, oh, it's AI. I'm not going to touch it. I don't want to know about it because it's going to take my job.
Yeah, I think just having an open mind, because tools, in the evolution of things, when we had, horses and carriages and then the cars replaced them, but we still have horses. We may not have carriages, but the horses are doing a different job most of the time now, and I don't know. It's just like anything that evolves, another tool comes along and maybe displaces it, but it also moves things forward. So we can take the good with the let's check this out kind of skepticism. But at the end of the day, if I want something described to me, I mean, for instance, like the Seeing AI app, I use that all the time.
Oh, I love it.
So that's fantastic. Just confirming colors of clothing and confirming just I mean, it's so much faster than it was, a couple of years ago. So love that app. Yep. Me too.
Yep.
Me too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, I know. It's irritating. Mm-hmm. Yep. That's great. Love it. Yeah, I use it to sort my mail too. And, just sorted a bunch of mail today. Oh, and it reads handwriting too. If I get like a birthday card or, some other kind of Christmas card, something, it reads that and I love it.
Yeah, it has always been my mail sorter from day one. It's also my money counter in a lot of instances, or just verifying, like, okay, I think this is a 10 because it feels like a 10 to me, but let me double check because I'm about to actually go hand it to somebody before, I accidentally hand them a 20 when it's supposed to be a 10. So it's been that for me, but I've also been enjoying it again. AI, the rise of LLMs has allowed this to become a thing, and I use it multiple times a week at least, is the Be My AI and Be My Eyes. Like, that has become super useful.
So AI, I really meant to say Be My Eyes, the AI function of the Be My Eyes, rather than I occasionally use Seeing AI, but if I could just back up and like rewind or something and say it's really Be My AI that I use all the time. Yeah.
So if I can make a confession, like when you said Seeing AI, like I said, yeah, me too. Like, and I was thinking Be My AI, and then I realized you said Seeing AI, but then we continued that conversation. And all of the ways that we said we use Seeing AI is how we use it, because it is still my mail sorter. Like, that's what I use to sort mail. Seeing AI, I still use to sort my mail. Okay. Yeah. No, Be My AI is like how I get stuff read. Like, I will take a picture of this money counter screen behind me and figure out how much money I have counted. It blew my mind. I think I sent Mike like this crazy string of text messages because I took a picture of something and I was trying to get information on a whole different thing, but then it just read some handwriting off of something else. And I was like, whoa.
Yep. It's great. Yeah. And I look at computer screens sometimes too.
Oh, so, yeah, that's helpful.
Is the computer on? What's going on?
I should do this to figure out why my Windows computer isn't coming on and working.
Yeah, really.
Well, no, I didn't think about that.
Yep.
So, looping back around to Braille displays, what are some fun things you've done, with the Monarch? I know, or the DotPad. JJ's been out here making games or playing games on it or doing it. I think he said he made a tic-tac-toe game for the DotPad.
Oh, really? Cool. Oh. What? Okay. I need to go follow him. So, yeah, I love, with the Monarch, the first sort of foray into games was when I said, hey, it would be great to have a Sudoku game. So I asked ChatGPT to create a Sudoku game for me. And it did. But I thought, wow, I'm going to have to do this every time. This is crazy. And what if it makes a mistake? I don't think it's going to, but this can't be that hard. So I put it out there on the multi-line Braille users, multi-line Braille display users group. And I said, it'd be great. I just created this, but it would be fantastic to have Sudoku for the Monarch. So someone whose handle is Seeing Hands posted back in just a couple hours, hey, here's a set of Sudoku games. There's 5 levels from easy to hard, and there's 50 of them in each level, and there's solutions, and I had a computer program do that. Like, what? And so they were all in BRF formats, because what I said was, I want the 9x9 grid, which completely fills up wonderfully the Monarch's 10-line display with, hardly any, overlap. And I want it, the setup of the puzzle would have the regular litter, like UEB type upper cell numbers. And if there was a blank, it would have 2 hyphens. And then if I put my number in, it would be a Nemeth number, so the number sign with the dropped number.
Okay.
And so then I would know what numbers I have put in case I make a mistake. I can go and erase that number. And so I was blown away that Seeing Hands could do this, because I just didn't know that was possible. So I was thrilled with it, and I started working the puzzles, and then I told APH about it, and I got to be on their blog, talking about it and give Seeing Hands credit for that. And Seeing Hands does some other things like Braille dictionaries and all that with their nonprofit that they're associated with. So I've been playing Sudoku at lunch, and the people at work are like, what are you doing? And then they pull up Sudoku on their phone, or they think, how do you play Sudoku? So we talk about that. And so that's super fun. So that sparked a lot of conversation and thought about games as well, but it's wonderful, and it'll take me a very long time to do all those, 250 puzzles. But with the DotPad, I've gotten into playing word games on the Apple News app. So there's a really cool game called Quartiles, where you have tiles that have 2 or 3 letters on them, and they're in a list. They could be a grid, but I have them in a list because it's easier to read. And so you have to click on or choose, which I, either double tap, or I think there's a DotPad equivalent to double tapping. But you choose the tiles in order to put together words. And then you can see the list of words that you get, and you get a certain number of points for each word. And then you find a quartile, basically, you get. And so there's different levels. And probably a couple months ago, I got this perfect score, and I was so excited. I'm aiming for that again with another puzzle that I'm working on right now. But I love the word puzzles and the number puzzles. And when I was putting together this recently, a list of restorative activities that when work is stressful or I feel overwhelmed, I can do these things. The word and number puzzles are at the top of my list. So that's what I've been doing with the Monarch and the DotPad.
That is super cool, and I know nothing about Sudoku, so I'm gonna probably stay away from that.
Oh no. Uh-huh. I have done many crossword puzzles on my phone. I have not yet tried it with the displays. I think I've been so excited about Sudoku and Quartiles that I got stuck there, but it's a good thing to think about and a good thing to check out and see what do they look like. Especially, it'll be great when iOS and the Monarch work together with terminal mode, but with the DotPad having a smaller screen, we could definitely check that out. So I'll make a note to check that out. Yeah.
So what is the issue with the Monarch and iOS as far as like compatibility or interoperability and by terminal mode? I'm assuming you mean like when you go into connect it as a regular Braille display over to the iPhone or something, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I just hear Apple's working on it. It just isn't happening yet. So no, you can't.
Ah.
No.
That's
yeah. Yeah,
I
I
wonder
don't.
what's different there compared to the DotPad.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm connected to it right now.
Yeah. I know, it's really cool. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what the hang up is, but I'm really hoping, and people are hoping with the latest update to the Monarch, but they were working on Google Drive and those Google things. So yeah, I don't know, but we're all looking forward to it because I don't believe it has multi-line
No, it does
support.
not.
Yeah, I don't believe
No.
so. No.
Much like, so what has your experience been like with the Mac and multi-line Braille? Because mine has not been great. At least I haven't tried it recently, but when I first connected the DotPad to my Mac, for example, like all I had that was usable was the 20 line of Braille at the bottom of the DotPad.
Yeah, that's all I understand that's available. I haven't actually tried to connect it, probably for that reason. So, because I think to myself, I could have 40 cells. My
Right.
single line Braille display would be a lot farther ahead. So,
Right.
but, yeah. But I'm looking forward to that, happening. So,
Well, it seems to be a work in progress.
it is.
It's very interesting to me that the DotPad works on, because I just assumed the Monarch did too. Like I wasn't aware that it wasn't, functioning with iOS. So that's kind of, it's weird in a way to me, but at the same time, like, what do I know? I don't know. But yeah, the Mac is, I was really looking forward to the Mac of being able to, see some things and hopefully, stick the Braille focus somewhere and, type somewhere else. And it's like, that's not going to happen. I may as well just, better off, like you said, is connecting my Brilliant over here. I got whole 40 cells.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Have you used any of these other, like, I guess you would call it, well, I think there is a Braille display that was a multi-line. It's like 80 cells, but it was 240 stacked on top of each other. Or have you ever used any of, like, there's another 80 cell display that I think is like just a super long display of 80 cells. Have you touched any of those or used those?
I have a colleague at work who has one, and I think I've briefly felt it, but I really haven't ever used one because I think they're like 10 grand, and she has one in her cube, and that's who has one. So yeah. Yep. Oh, yeah. It's great for, a row on a spreadsheet, I'm sure, but
it's just that row. Like,
yep. Yep. It's only that one row. That's true. I know. Yeah. Yep.
So I have a question. This is just very specific to me. What has been your experience using the DotPad, and I'm assuming this will be with Windows, in spreadsheets? Like, is it as good as the Monarch, or is it just not quite there yet?
I have to say I have not tried it with Windows and spreadsheets, but I did attend a training the DotPad folks gave, and I think you can set, the like the cropped mode and the different modes within, if you're using JAWS, it's gonna behave like a baby Monarch, I think, in that realm. So I'm assuming that it will be as good. It's just that you have a smaller surface to use, but I can't say that I've experienced that yet.
Okay, that is something that's on my list to try out. I really was hoping to have that on the Mac. Now, I was so disappointed when I connected it to the Mac. I was like, oh man, I thought I was going to be able to look at my number spreadsheets and just get going. I was like, you're just giving me one line of Braille at the bottom. Like, this is pointless.
I know.
I'm upset.
Yep.
So any other thoughts on just Braille? I had a question that I did want to know, because you mentioned that the Monarch has come down slightly in price. So do you know what it's retailing for at this point?
I think it's about 15,000 now instead of nearly 18. I know that doesn't sound like much, but
$3,000 is a lot of money.
It helps, It might make it more appealing to, to agencies or people who even, want to fund it in some way. Yeah, it has come down, and I think that's probably in part to the numbers that they have sold already. And, the more units they sell, maybe the production of the things is more automated. And yeah, so I think that's good news. Something has come down. And when I was pointing out to people on Mastodon that even with the DotPad at its $5,900-ish price, depending on where you are, that's been the price of a lot of note takers forever. Not much more than, so, and this thing does so much that those didn't do when you have this multi-line experience. So, yep. Yep. Oh, wow. That's a good point. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think maybe the only pushback I can somewhat agree with people on is like for $6,000, you get a full-fledged note taker, and with the DotPad, like it's not that. But at the same time, it kind of depends on what you're trying to use it for. Like, don't buy it as a note taker because it's not what it is.
Right.
Like, it's meant to be an ancillary device. I want to go back to, because we have been asking this question, and I have a Orbit writer somewhere in here. I had my hands on it a few weeks ago, but I don't know where it is now. But take me through the process of connecting the Orbit writer to your phone with the DotPad. Like, what is the order of operations here? What do I need to do? Cause we've had we, meaning AT guys, have gotten a few questions about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what I did, and I don't think it matters which device you have connected first, but, you would just go into your voiceover settings and Braille and make sure that your Orbit writer is, turned on, ready to go, and then just connect it. And then it should, it operates with both devices, simultaneously. So, okay.
So you're not having to switch the, Orbit writer into the keyboard type profile mode or anything where it behaves more like what a Hable would versus being a Braille input device. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's been my experience. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I thought that was the way that it should work because I have had my the DotPad in the whatever this Braille display is over here to the right of me is connected to the phone at the same time because I was listening to David Woodbridge's walkthrough of using. I don't know why this Android phone all of a sudden just started talking. I didn't say anything to you, man. Like, be quiet. We're not talking about you.
Too much Mac talk, it feels lonely.
Look, you don't support multi-line Braille displays, though.
That's right.
Hush it up over there. We're not talking to you right now. What is that feature? One of you might remember. It's the Braille mode.
Access?
Yes, that's it. Thank you. When I was listening to David Woodbridge's podcast about that and playing around with it, I had the Monarch paired. I mean, excuse me, I don't have a Monarch. Somebody wants to give me one. I'm here though.
Really.
I had the DotPad paired to the phone already, and I just turned on the Brilliant, and it just connected. So I was like, oh, I didn't realize I could have two Braille displays connected at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think he talked about that in another podcast that he just did, connecting more than one Braille display to his iPhone or whatever. So, yeah.
Now, the weird thing is they just seem to mirror each other, though. So, like, I can't, do one thing over here and do another thing over there. It's like it's going to both show me exactly the same thing. Unless you go into that Braille, what is it again? I'm sorry. I just forgot what it was. Thank you. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I thought that's what it was and I didn't want to say it. Braille access mode. But that is a really cool mode. Like, I haven't used it in a bit, but I think, with a smaller display, I would actually use it more on the go, than I do.
Yeah. It's cool. Mm-hmm.
Hold on, man. I got a few more questions if she's not in a hurry to go.
No, I'm good. Yeah.
Because I am fascinated that Chris joined us and she is using her Audio Technica 2100X, which is the mic that we suggest everybody start with if you want a good podcasting microphone. It's an excellent microphone. Mm-hmm. But I'm curious, what about the PodTrack P4 Next? Like, what are your thoughts? Have you used it?
Yes, I love it. It's great. I got to record a couple things for other things that I'm doing this weekend, and that is what I'm going to use. My original PodTrack P4 was getting flaky. It would cut out the audio of the first 10, 20 seconds and I would not know that. And then I would be bummed because I would do this whole recording and I would not have a beginning that I started with. And nothing talked, and it was just a bit of a hassle, but it was nice that I had buttons. But when the Zoom, recorders started coming out with the, with the talking menus and things, I thought, wow, okay. So then when PodTrack P4 Next came out, I pre-ordered it. I was very excited to get it, and I'm really, really loving it. And I just really enjoy being able to navigate the menus, know what I'm doing, even if the file names aren't read because they don't have an actual TTS in there, just recorded prompts. That's okay. I can just start playing something, decide, oh yeah, I want to delete that, or nope, oops, I don't want to delete that. So yeah, I'm really, really enjoying it a lot.
Cool. So I also pre-ordered it, mostly because I ran off my mouth on the show when they did come out with the Essentials line of recorders. And I was like, if they ever do a PodTrack that talks, I'll have to, I'll go buy one. And then they finally did it after I had just bought something else. And I was crap. I said I was going to do it, so I got to do it. Yeah. Well, so how do you primarily use it? Because I look at it and I kind of think of it, for me, it would probably, I think my use case is going to be more when I'm traveling and I need to potentially just do a recording, maybe just by myself or hook the phone up to it, or I'm doing a demo or something like that. But it's not connected to my computer as an audio interface type of deal. So I'm interested in what your general use case is, and then can we pitch Mike to go buy one too, because he should get one.
Yeah. So I mostly use it for when I'm doing demos of phone apps and things, because I just plug the phone into it. And if I'm just doing something that doesn't require a demo, I will maybe use it, or maybe I will connect a little MV88 mic to my phone and make just a little audio recording if I'm not doing a demo. But especially if I'm doing a phone demo with either the iPhone or the Android, or I've also done a recording from my Mac just by connecting the Mac to the TRRS cable and going from there. I think I've used it also with JAWS. So yeah, mostly for demos. And I love doing demos because to just talk me through something doesn't mean as much to some people as, oh, I heard the screen reader say this. That's what I'm listening for. Okay, now I need to click on that thing that I just heard. So I love using it for demos.
Excellent. So Mike, so you definitely need to get one, is what Chris just said. Chris just said you definitely need to get one.
Yeah, see, but that would have required me to learn that, and I'd rather drop a couple $100 on a recorder than learn loopback, apparently.
Loopback.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I didn't want that complication.
And also, there's no loopback for Windows, Mike. I just would like to point that out to you, sir.
There's that.
Do you know how to use that, Mike? That actually is going to be my next question. So what devices do you generally use? Because you've touched on a lot. You've touched on all the OSs, what?
All of them. Yeah. Every day. My Android phone is, people say they have a daily driver. I have two daily drivers. I have two drivers, my iPhone and my Android, and I like them for different reasons. So the Android phone I got because I really, really missed Touch ID. Missed it a lot. And then I found out about the British voice I could have on it, and that just won my heart completely. And a vocalizer voice, Malcolm, I think. No, what's his name? I forgot his name. He's great though. But I really I enjoy the apps that I enjoy learning the apps on a different platform, and Yeah, I really love the Touch ID, and I have a Z Flip 5 phone, so I thought it was cool that I could just close the phone and disconnect the call.
Awesome. Thank you. I was going to ask that question, like, does it work if you just flip it closed? Does it hang up on people?
It sure
awesome.
Does.
That is the reason to get one right there.
I know. That was worth.
No,
that was the $1,000 drop right there. Yeah. But I love the Touch ID, and I just enjoy. I mean, I've always loved tech. My mom said, 40 years ago, she said, Chris got a new piece of technology, just slips food under the door, and when she's ready, learns it, she'll come out. So basically that's what happens. And I love tech. I've always loved it. My brother got me my first iPhone 16, 2010, 16 years ago. And I just want to give credit to him because that's why I have my job. I was really very underemployed at the time, and he got me my first iPhone for Christmas. And because I learned it in a heartbeat, I was downloading apps that night and just having such a cool time with it. Then I knew how to use the device when the job came open, and I give him a lot of credit for why I have my job right now. So
see, people, be nice and buy people iPhones for
That's
Christmas.
Right.
And, great things will happen after that.
You never know what one thing will lead to another, what opportunity will open another door, so, and the other day I brought out the Samsung tablet because I wanted to research something for a student and navigate around there. I also have a Chromebook I haven't visited with in a little minute. But I just love all the platforms for all the interesting things they can do and learning things for people who need to also learn them.
Now, you have a separate Windows computer also, I'm assuming, in addition to your MacBook Air?
I don't anymore. It was very old, and it needed to go to the bit bucket in the sky. And so I'm basically running Windows on a virtual machine. So on my Mac Mini. And cool. I've got a Windows keyboard plugged in because I don't want to hassle with all the key differences in control. As Windows is Alt is Command is something. Yeah. It's a pain. So I'm not dealing with I just pick my battles, right? So
cool. So you're using Parallels?
Yep.
Yeah, that it's funny. 10 years ago, like I was trash talking Parallels to death because it's like I don't understand why they don't make their app accessible. Like it's still not great, but it is, come a long way. And then VOCR has made it possible to just get that set up and move along with just get on with life and not worry about it. I think I have two final questions. If you don't say anything else that makes you want to ask more questions, so. The first question is, you have an iPhone and you have the wonderful flip phone. You just hang up on people. I'm sorry, I dropped my phone and it closed on you. I didn't mean to.
I'm sorry, I hung up on you.
So which phone is for what, or what are kind of the different times that you're going to reach from one over the other?
Yeah. So I really don't care for Gmail on the Android. So I always go.
Oh, it's horrible.
Yeah. Yeah, I really don't like it. And so iPhone, with, Mail and Mastodon, ChatGPT, I would have to say, my Android phone is handy for IRA calls when I will want to look at something on my iPhone screen. I mean, I know I could do that screen share thing, but it's so much easier to say, okay, is this what's on the screen or something? And the other things that I do, like texting, phoning, ride share, I feel like the simpler things, but definitely like IRA works just fine. And so I think the Android is just more the less complicated things, but I do have my British fellow to accompany me on those things. I mention that again. And the fingerprint reader, love it. And then the iPhone is just, I feel like it's the more complex things or things that are not, like the things that like my email and Be My AI works just fine with both of them. So that's kind of when I reach for one over the other, but especially mail. I really, just cannot deal with Gmail on the Android.
Man, that does not make any sense to me. Like I mean, it's your phone, it's your operating system, it's your app. Like, why is it so terrible compared to iOS? Like, oh my God, I was just complaining to Mike about that.
Yeah. And also copying and pasting and text editing is not as seamless on the Android as it is on the iPhone. It's so much easier. So that is one thing. And Braille support, it's been through a rough many years.
That's been a rough few years on the Android side, for real. I just want to point out for people listening, if you didn't quite hear what she said is not that you can't copy and paste text. She just said it's more difficult on Android, which I 100% agree with.
It is, and just deleting a certain number of characters or finding your way around, it's just a little fiddly with Android and edit boxes and editing in general. But yeah, that being said, and then Braille support, just having to switch to a different keyboard and things. I just want to plug and play. I just want to plug the thing in or Bluetooth it in and have it just work like it does on the iPhone. So I haven't been exploring. I think I updated to the latest Android version and haven't been to Braille. It's just been a bit discouraging for me. So that's why it's a deal breaker with Braille support. No, that's not going to make some people happy, but when a client needs a phone, I'll say, do you heavily depend on Braille support? Then let's not go with Android at this point, because it was, for a while, it just wasn't hardly supported at all with the HID displays.
Yeah, and they seem to be working on it. It's just one of those things that like it's taking a while. I mean, much like talkback improvements, and I would kind of say from me and Mike have had this discussion a few times because I spent a summer with the Android phone, and like I figured out that, like you said, a lot of the more simpler day-to-day things are they're very easy to do on Android. Phone calls, texts. I mean, I actually like RCS messages on Android like that. That is nice. And I don't ever have to worry about like, oh, well, now here comes a regular SMS. No, all RCS. Ira, Uber, Lyft, all of those things work well. But yeah, I would reach. I mean, I could almost live in a world, except that sometimes I need you start doing a thing and you realize like you actually need the phone. I could almost live in a world where I just carried an Android phone and then an iPad mini or something.
Yeah.
But then there's, those times on the iPad where I just end up lost. It's like, listen, man, like, why do we have to go through all this? Why can't you just make the app page load instead of being a little weird popover that's in the corner? Like, can we get that right? My other question, based off as much tech as you have and probably stuff that you have to take back and forth, like, do you have a specific type of bag that you like, or do you have a bag that you carry stuff in, backpack, anything? I know he's going to say that. Yeah.
So many bags.
Oh man. Okay. Here we go. What you got?
Yeah. So of course, I would have to remember the name of the actual backpack, but, I found a backpack big enough for the Monarch on a rainy day. But the Monarch does travel back and forth to work with me sometimes. And then it stays home and the kitties babysit it, while I'm gone. But, I don't have anything that anyone would recognize. Oh, that backpack is just awesome. So I am a girly girl, and I frequent the Vera Bradley.
I'm familiar with Vera Bradley. Yeah.
Quilted backpacks. So I have one that has kitties all over it. It's fantastic. And it has a nice big laptop compartment in the back that's padded. And then it has a main compartment. And then it has another smaller compartment with lots of pockets. And it has 2 bottle holders on either side. And it's great. It just depends on what I'm taking. If it's not pouring down rain, that I need something absolutely, because I don't walk to work, I take a door-to-door service. So, it just depends, but I make sure that, all of my, favorite Vera Bradley bags can accommodate. Like I have a perfect tote bag for the Monarch. It just slides right in. It's just like made for it, like just a glove, And so I think that it matters if it's raining here in Oregon, and it matters if the thing that I'm bringing to work is humongous, like the Monarch, that's well worth it, or if it's just my Mac and Braille display and different things like that. So not a particular brand. I recently did buy a Navigator backpack that I heard about on the Mac Geek Gab show, and that's a good backpack. It's pretty utilitarian. It kind of expands to
I heard about
size.
This one.
Yeah, it's pretty utilitarian, but being the girly girl that I am, it doesn't have kitties all over it, and it's just not as fun. It's very utilitarian, though, I have to say.
Gotcha. Well, see, there's a good perspective, though. She brought the girly girl bags in. See, I'm usually talking about like something like that Navigator bag. Like, that's kind of the stuff that I buy. But that is, or I spent way too much money on some kind of leather backpack. And I'm like, man, it's amazing. Except that it doesn't have this one thing. Like, that's been my problem. And why I have so many bags, so many backpacks, because there's always the one thing missing, or it doesn't quite get big enough, or I can't quite fit this thing in it.
Yeah.
But there you go for our lady listeners out there. You have, and I am familiar with Vera Bradley. She makes some cool looking stuff.
She does. And if you go on eBay, it's much less expensive, and you get the retired bags that somebody bought up and then they're reselling. And so eBay's a really great place to get them. I mean, verabradley.com is great, and I do go there, but I'm more inclined to go to eBay to find new stuff that is discounted because the pattern is retired, which is how I got all the stuff with the kitties all over it. So I've got all kinds of stuff in that pattern. So
yeah. I'm going to go hunt for one of those on eBay because my daughter will love it.
Yeah, and this pattern is called herding cats. So herding as in HERDING. So not hurting, but herding. So it's really great. And the cats are in different cute little poses inside a bag or stretching or something. I get the most comments on it. And actually today I was picking up my cat's medication at the vet, and I accidentally, can't believe this, I had another little bag with me, and I left my purse sitting on the bench where I was sitting. And one of the receptionists walked over and said, "Oh man, that is cats all over it. I know whose bag that is." And she tore out the door and gave me my purse before my ride came. So it's handy, and when I was at Macstock, I would put this little kitty bag down at my place, and they knew that was my spot. I could just say, "Hey, the bag with the cats on it is mine." And they'd just guide me right to my chair. How cool is that? So it's unique. Love it.
Excellent.
Yep. Uh-oh. Oh boy. I do. Yep. Yeah. I don't know as many people that are so nerdy as you guys. And so, but
I hear you. Tone down the nerdiness is what she says. Okay.
I do.
Gotcha.
I do tell my friends that I listen to it, and I told my best friend that I was going to be on the show, kind of thing. But it's pretty nerdy, but that's okay because that's why we listen. I don't think so, because if your objective is to appeal to the nerdy, then they're not going to appreciate the tone down, I'm guessing. So
wow,
that's good. Right. After an hour and 24 minutes, that's good.
Yeah. So let me ask one final question on that point, though, because part of our talk, I mean, we all want to talk to people who are, into the tech and stuff like that, but being a professional of a different sort, you're not a programmer, you're not interested in being a programmer, you don't care about half the stuff we talk about with, I wrote this cool code. Mm-hmm. What would you suggest that we do, or any changes that we should consider making, to better kind of serve up content that is of more interest to somebody? I would say more like you like tech, you're into the tech, so that helps, but that's maybe not quite as down in the weeds of Claude code and all of that.
Mm-hmm. maybe how you got started learning it or understanding it. And then if I wanted to get into it, I can't start at the point where you're talking right now because I know nothing. So, what drew you to Claude? How did you get into coding? How did you start? What was your first project? How did you get to know how to do it? I think knowing the backstory on the beginnings of the in the weeds, discussion would be really helpful, I think, for someone like me, because then I could say, oh, well, what kind of things could I code, or what use case or what pain point am I addressing? And can I actually do that? What aptitude would it take for me to do that? So that might be helpful to get the beginning perspective and how you got to where you are now.
Awesome. I appreciate that. That's really good feedback. And we will incorporate that because that also gives us some kind of evergreen content that we could create for the times where we're not going to be able to record on a specific week. So extraordinarily helpful.
Great.
All right, Chris, I want to thank you for coming on, spending a very long time with us. I don't think you thought you were going to be sitting here this long, did you? Like, oh, we'll be in and out real quick.
I was good with it.
Okay.
I was expecting. Yep. Well, it's been a real pleasure. I really appreciate you inviting me on, and I always love talking tech and Braille, and it's good to hang out with you guys.
Cool. So we will have you back on another time, talk about some other stuff, for sure. Cause she likes to text. See, I like that. She's got more stuff laying around probably than I do.
I have lots of stuff. Yes.
And my friend Mike just told me the other day I had a problem because I started listing off all these audio interfaces I was going to do some testing with to see what the different sound may be for people. He's like, man, you got a problem. I was like, really? Really? Well, all right. We would like to thank Chris. Chris, would you like to tell people anywhere they can go to follow you for social media or anything like that? You don't have to, but I'm just giving you the option.
Oh, thank you. Sure. So I'm on Mastodon. I'm Creative Chris, and all one word. And I like to hang out there. And also, I have my Braille show is called At Your Fingertips, Braille Then and Now, and it's hosted by DoubleTap, and it's got its own feed. So if you go and search for At Your Fingertips, Braille Then and Now, you'll find it in your podcatcher of choice. Also, I'm a part of the Digital Bytes podcast, and that's also, you can find that. It's BYTES, and Desiree Simeone and Jonathan, as well as Marty, all contribute to that. And to make that a team effort. And then also Marty and I do a show called Mac Chat, all one word. And so that's a monthly show. Digital Bytes is every 2 weeks, and my Braille show is once a month. So it's fun doing all of this because I get to dabble in very minimal audio recording and / editing. And also, but I get to talk about my favorite topics. So thanks for asking. That's where you can find me.
Awesome. So everybody go and check that out. See, she's kind of nerdy. BYTES. Yeah. All right. So you can follow us. Mike is on Mastodon. He's Payon, PAYOWN at dragonscave.space. I am Damashe, DAMASHE at technically.social. And follow the bot, TW at technically.social. And you can also use the hashtag technicallyworking. And we appreciate it if you capitalize the T and the W. It just makes the screen reader read it better. That's the reason for that. And email feedback at technicallyworking.show. We didn't get permission, but I will just shout out thanks for the tip. You know who you were, and we don't know who you are, but thank you. And this has been Technically Working episode number